welcome back to yet another interview with another book and another author, all part of our Independent Thinking Online Children's Book Festival that we're doing this year. Whether we'll do it again, I don't know. We'll see. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned so much. I've spoken to so many different authors on a whole variety of different books. And here's a different book again, different style of illustration, and a totally different topic. But all of the books that we've focused are there to help. They've got a message. It's about helping children. It's about helping parents. By default, helping teachers as well. So much I've learned from an educational perspective, and also helping the planet, which is where we are with this lovely little book. Cat's Eyes View of ... implies there's a series, which I like. Cat's Eyes View of Litter, written and illustrated by, I think this is the first one where we've had the person do both, Octavia Lonergan, and I'm really pleased I've got Octavia joining us this afternoon. Welcome to our Slightly Bonkers Book Festival. Octavia, tell us about you, tell us about yourself, tell us about what you do, where you're from, and how you came to be writing that.
Okay. Oh, what a lot of questions. So by trade, I'm a graphic designer and do illustrations and things as well. So that's where that side of things comes in. I have always written poems since I think I was about 8 with my first ever poem that I can remember a little bit of it. A bat can't see as well as you and me. He has no need. In a cave lives he. Now, that was something to do with, we had a pipistrelli bat be brought to us at school, and I was fascinated by it, and so I wrote a poem, as you do. My first book is where this actually started. You did mention this, I'll just quickly show, which is Cat's Eye View of Lockdown. And that's what kind of got me into making books. I had an idea whilst at home last year with my twins. I have they're 2.5 now, my little girls. They're not so little anymore. So I was spending a lot of time at home with them, mostly on my own, obviously. And I just had this idea about, what must all our pets be thinking now that all the humans are at home, and that's what sparked that one. And that went on to become an Amazon bestseller somehow. I don't know. I should have more faith in myself. I've written it, illustrated it, self-published, done all of that. The only person who's given me a fair bit of help is my lovely mother. She's my editor. And then whilst that was going on, I had the idea for my next book, which you showed. I've got it here, Cat's Eye View of Litter. Because I kept seeing on all, I love Facebook, but there's a side of it I don't like, and that's the sort of being confronted with pictures of, there's just loads of pictures on all the sort of local Facebook groups, the community groups, about bins in parks like overflowing with rubbish, because suddenly people were having to spend obviously a lot of time at home, but when they did go out and they went to a park, they seemed to forget how to behave, and that's what sparked that off, writing that. But yeah, I've always been, I don't like blowing my own trumpet too much, I get a bit awkward about it, but I have always been creative. Runs in the family. I don't know if you can see up there, that's a poster. I get confused with cousins. It's my dad's cousin, so I don't know if that makes him my second cousin, Patrick Caulfield. And so he's quite well known, and I've always loved his style of work, and that's influenced me with the he does quite a lot of, he did, God rest his soul, a lot of illustrative work over photorealistic things, and that's kind of where some of my ideas come from. My mum's always written poems, and she did paintings. I do paintings as well. That was my husband's Christmas present several years ago. And I sing and I write songs, and I used to play the clarinet. That's been a long time since doing that, but yeah, my cousin is the designer for Little Bird with Jules Oliver, and my uncle was an architect. It's like my whole life has just been surrounded by creativity, and now I finally found a really rewarding way to sort of put it all together.
I mean, it's interesting. There's an implication there that sort of creativity is almost genetic, isn't it? It's sort of it's in your blood. It's everywhere you look. There are people churning stuff out, churning these amazing things out. And also, and conversation I had with a previous author, with another author this morning. This idea that it's almost like there's a well inside you. There's a fountain inside you, and it has to come out somehow. And this lady, it was like it came out through music, and then the children meant she had to change things, so then it started coming out through books and through the
You're
story
talking of Sophie, aren't you? Sophie Garner.
Is that the same?
Absolute legend.
Well, actually, I wasn't talking about Sophie, but that is another example.
Oh.
Yeah, no, this was another one. It'll come back to me. The blots lady.
Oh yes.
Love
that as well.
Yeah, but this idea that it's going to come out somehow or other, so I'll find an outlet for it, which I just find that so reassuring, thinking about the work that we do in schools, that sometimes we can sort of squash children down or give them, in England especially, there's a narrowing of the outlet for creativity. But what we seem to be hearing from the authors is it's going to come out somehow or other. So let's channel it, let's encourage it, let's give them as many skills as possible through music, through art, through drama, to allow it to come out and let them be. But when you're creative, how does it feel? That sounds a bit like the Billy Elliot thing, when you're dancing, what does it feel like? But, electricity and all that. So how does it feel being creative?
Oh, do you know what? I mean, especially with writing my first book, when I wrote the first book, that was like a sort of therapy. It was such an awful time for everybody to go through. It was just, we'd never seen anything like it, being stuck at home and all this horrible stuff going on. So by writing that book, it's sort of, and also doing the illustrations and bringing the characters to life and everything, it helped me get through it all. In a similar way to, there was a poem I wrote a couple of years ago called Enough, which was about my experience with postnatal depression following the birth of my twins. I had a really rough time, but towards the end of getting better from it, I sort of channeled everything into writing this poem, and that helps. It made things make sense by putting it down into words in this instance. It just made things make a bit more sense, and I know that it's gone on to actually help people who are going through it, who didn't sort of admit they were going through it, and then read the poem and they're like, oh yeah, that's what's going on. So it makes me feel all nice and warm inside, knowing that I can help people. And with the books, it helps. Again, the first book, I've had some lovely reviews about how it's helped children to understand what was going on, and they read it every night. And I know that it's over a year ago that came out now. I don't know where the time's gone, but time flies and whatnot. But people are still enjoying it, and with the new book as well, just to sort of, thankfully, I've had a lot of feedback that their children are really up on this, and they're always picking up the litter with their little litter pickers, and they wouldn't dream of it. So I think some grown-ups need to read it,
I think so
as well.
I think so. The cat-sized view of lockdown is an interesting one as well, because because it's available via Amazon print on demand, so anybody in the world can sort of just get hold of it quite quickly. Yeah. And like a previous book, the lady in Spain, and suddenly her book, because Sydney's in lockdown, so her book about activities for children in lockdown is now big in Sydney. So you might find that your book sort of takes off in that first one takes off in waves as various countries deal with the what's going on in waves. Yeah. And I love the creativity in. But just going back to your poem Enough, which even in its very title is going to be a powerful poem. You've got a poetry website. Is that poem, people might want to look at that, is that available on that website?
Yes, my website is poemsbyoctavia.com, and then my socials are at poemsbyoctavia. So I've got Instagram, Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm still getting the hang of it. It's quite overwhelming trying to keep up with everything. And it's also, that particular poem is on a wonderful charity called Home Starts UK. They had it on their website. I've done a lot. They helped me get through the depression and helped me look after my girls in the first few months. So they had it on their website, and I read it at their AGM a couple of years ago. So yeah, it's out there.
Right. Okay. Now we'll track that one down, because that sounds like Enough is a. I don't know the poem, but it's a combination of a cry for help and a cry of stop, I can imagine.
But you know what? That's interesting, because you haven't read it. The Enough is more about that I am enough for my daughters. But that it was at the time, it's like, enough of this. And there is a part of it which is like when I sort of realised, oh no, I actually need to get some help, which I did. It took me a while to get my head around it, but yeah.
And your creativity, even just the concept of where the books came from, which is, I wonder what our pets are making of all of this. It's just such a lovely starting point for being creative. I can imagine that as an exercise for parents or for teachers, is, you know, just to take anything. I remember my daughter once saying she got out of bed and by mistake she sort of tripped over the dog. She went to the loo at night or something, and then when she came back and she just wondered, I wonder if my dog thinks I just got up and kicked it. Or also, if you go out the door, you know, does my dog think I'm just outside the door waiting for 12 hours before I come back in? And it's this, what do the pets think? It's just such a lovely creative stimulus question, and you channel that into a series of books.
Thank you.
So have you? How we doing? The time goes so quickly with these little interviews. How about reading us a little bit from the Cat's Eye View of Litter and showing us illustrations as well? Because, like I say, I think you're the first one who's been both the illustrator and the very distinctive illustrations. I love the combination of the photography. Is that your garden in that?
No, I was going to say I wish, but we actually had our garden done last year, so it looks lovely. But no, this stock photography. So not my extra garden. But I should go out there and get some pictures actually for the next book. Okay. So I'm going to try and hold it so that you can see it.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So Tibby strolls along the wall carrying her mouse. When there's too much noise inside, she likes to leave the house. Glancing down across the lawn, her friends come into view. Ozzy stretched out on the grass, Leo and Mimi too. Something's bothering her today, and so she feels she needs a chat. When you need some wise advice, the one to ask, another cat. Sometimes when it's nearly dark, I like to roam around the park. Yesterday, I must confess, the park was in a dreadful mess. I thought that it was caused by foxes. They like bags and bins and boxes. But I asked them from a distance. Not them, they said with firm insistence. Bins were full up, overflowing. Rubbish humans had been throwing, strewn around across the grass, were plastic bottles, food and glass. I'll just show you that one.
Yeah.
And you can see, and a mask, we've all seen those.
Yeah.
I won't read the rest of it, but you get the gist of it. And they talk about it. Ozzy, he's the wise one. He's the one who sort of explains things. Yeah. And so just goes through the final message.
What's nice as well, you cover more than just, you need to pick up your litter after you or find an empty bin if the bins are full, but you take it how the litter goes. I mean, there's a picture of a very sad turtle with a 6-pack ring around its neck, and there we go. Yeah, that's a children access, but that's a sad turtle. That's quite a powerful story. The idea, I remember doing a session ages ago with schools about recycling, about litter, and the phrase "there is no way" was sort of really resonated with me about throwing things away. But you don't. There is no way. It goes somewhere. So that's
powerful. I like that.
Yeah. So that message that you've got in that book, which is, it's going to go somewhere. So be careful what you do and what you put and where you put it and everything is no, I can like that. What feedback have you got from families or from schools or nurseries using the book? How are people?
I'm actually in the process of trying to get it out into schools. I currently live right opposite a very good primary school, so I'm in touch with them at the moment, trying to sort it out. We're also in the middle of moving house. I don't like to do things by halves. Let's just do it all at once. So yeah, I've had good feedback though from the people who have read it, that they like the look of it, but they like the message and the characters. People who bought my first book, they're liking seeing a bit more about the characters, which again will be developed in the following book, Cat's Eye View of Being Green, which links in nicely with the theme of litter, but then sort of takes it on further about recycling. And I've been having a lot of contact with local litter picking groups. There's some amazing people, litter heroes they call them, who go out and, they shouldn't have to pick up the litter, but it's great that someone's doing that. So yeah, I really want to get into schools. So anyone watching this, send me a message. because I've done virtual ones with my first book, and that was really, really enjoyable. Lots of fantastic questions from the kids, and getting that interaction is great. But it literally is my dream. When my girls are 2.5, but once they're actually at school, I mean, I'll show you, they love Mummy's books. This is how much they love them. Yeah, they've read this. They're 2.5, they can't read a lot. So I had to sneak that away before I put them down for their nap. So they didn't see me taking it.
I'm sure they're very proud of you, knowing that it's as when they understand that your name's on.
They call it Mummy's Books, and they see the picture of me in the foreword at the front. But I'm not sure if they really understand it. But I'll make sure they do as they get older.
And the virtual one that you've done, that was with for a primary school, was it? The virtual?
Yes, yeah. One in Liverpool actually. That was a little while ago. I'm losing track of the months, let alone the days. That was really interesting because I read I did a PDF, no, PowerPoint, that's the word, a PowerPoint of the book as I read it, so they could see everything nice and clear. And then we had question and answers, and they were going to be following on and doing a little project after that, writing their own stories about what their what their pets think of various situations. So it's so exciting to think that kids are actually being inspired to do their own work. It's a big boost.
Yeah, no, it's lovely, and it's such a simple premise. What does the pet think of? Add whatever you like into that, couldn't you? And what without going through the whole book, but and I haven't read this one, but what do the pets in your world think of lockdown?
They have different views on it. Tibby, the tabby, who you saw at the beginning of the little read through I did there, she's just like, get out of my house, what are you doing? Because she's a very independent cat, and I've called the cat's owners humans because we know that no one really owns a cat, and she in particular is like, what are you doing? So she particularly likes it when people go out for the clap for carers on a Thursday, because she gets the house to herself for a short while, which is nice. But all of the clapping scares off any mice. That's what she says. I'm trying to remember which one does which. One of them likes it. I think it's Mimi, because her human is at home and strokes her and gives her more cuddles, and she sees herself as a therapy pet. To help. She's helping her human. And Leo likes the fact that the kids were playing in the garden, because obviously the weather was amazing through all this heartache. It was beautiful weather, and so he's enjoying all the playing in the garden. And Ozzy again is the one who just sort of knows what's going on. He's got the inside track on things, so he's sort of explaining. He's the oldest. He's the black and white boy. There he is.
Wise one.
Quite hard trying to point.
Yeah, I know, black and white one. Yeah. The wise one. Yeah, no, that's lovely. So just remind us. So so the book is available via Amazon. It's a sort of print on demand. Get it. And remind us of your website again.
So it's poemsbyoctavia.com. I need to get on there and update it. It's hard to keep on top of everything because obviously I'm a stay-at-home mum of my girls, and I also freelance my graphic design, octaviadesign.com. But I'm on all these socials as @poemsbyoctavia.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the best way to get in touch, really. Facebook is where I sort of spend most of my time interacting with I was going to say my fans, but that still sounds a bit cheesy. I don't know. Yeah,
it's like
my people.
Having followers. Yeah, it's like not quite.
Followers. There's the word, followers.
Yeah,
that sounds a bit. I won't say what that sounds like.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. The people who are just interested, the interested people. Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully there'll be even more interested people. Hopefully people looking at this at some point will make contact and invite you either physically into schools, which would be nice for all of them, or virtually into schools anywhere around the world. It's relevant. The whole litter thing. I mean, I go to the park here in Rotterdam on a Sunday morning. I'm running around and it's awful. It's just strewn everywhere. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. So and it ain't the children doing it, and it ain't the cats doing it. It's,
I've got a lovely picture of my children. They picked up, fair enough, it was actually a daisy and not even rubbish, but they went over and they put it in the bin, and they point things out all the time. We were sat on a bench the other day, and there was the bin literally a couple of feet away, and a well-known coffee cup just on the floor, and you just think, it's there, the bin's right there. Anyway, so I'm hoping to get the word out. Maybe the parents will buy it for their children and then think, oh, actually, yeah, I need to be a bit more considerate to the earth as well.
Maybe get it sponsored by a well-known burger company whose most of the litter that is picked up on the streets of Britain is from them. Maybe they can put their hands in the pocket and encourage us to do something about it. Mention no names or burglars.
No.
On that note, good luck with it all. Good luck with the next one as well. I hope people keep buying it all around the world, and keep your creativity going and your belief in yourself and doing what's right. It's lovely. It's inspiring. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.